Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. If you enjoy the videos here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the Word Balloon YouTube channel, and of course, if you enjoy the audios and the videos, you could subscribe to my Patreon page, patreon.com/wordballoon. Hey everybody, welcome back to another Harley Quinn review. We're talking about episode 10 of season 1, Bensonhurst, and joining me as always, the co-creator of the Harley Quinn animated show and the co-showrunner. It's Patrick Schumacker, everybody. Welcome back, Patrick.
Hey, John.
Great beginning to episode 10. And especially right now, sadly, during the pandemic, so many people have been cut from their gigs. And I guess prior to the shutdown, it to me is a very classic of, all right, I'm out of my job. And then first it might start sad, but then, of course, King Shark is having a blast in Bloodhaven's own amusement park, which is fantastic. And God, them on the roller coaster and just having a great time. And also that it's in Bloodhaven, I think is hilarious. Because Bloodhaven's such a downer, being next to Gotham and everything, usually.
Yeah. Well, it's like I grew up in St. Louis, and like we had a Six Flags that was it's called Six Flags St. Louis, but it's really in Eureka, Missouri, which is like a ways away. It used to be called like Six Flags Mid-America or whatever, which felt
I remember. And also, Chicago's one is like that too. I mean, ours is in Gurnee, which is right by the Wisconsin border and like a good 20 to 25 minutes away from the city limits of Chicago. So, yeah.
Exactly. So we were like, well, it shouldn't be in Gotham. Where's it? Okay, we'll put it in Bloodhaven. they need some help. So yeah.
They're like, yay! They're on the roller coaster, and it's great, and it totally is like an Instagram video or whatever. I mean, it's like very, very funny.
TikTok. I learned
TikTok, exactly.
I'm fairly out of the loop with TikTok.
I'm hip. Geez, man, me too. I know, seriously, it's like we're two dads right now talking about TikTok. Believe me, I know.
Absolutely, and I now kind of understand it a little bit more, but I know what it is because we did this video and we're thinking, oh, this is more like a Snapchat kind of thing. But then our composer, Jefferson Friedman, was like, oh, well, like, how about we put a little bit of like some TikTok music here? I'm like, what is that? And he explained to me what TikTok was. So then the music that you hear, according to Jefferson, again, I'm not well versed in TikTok. That this kind of music is a very sort of popular genre, at least used on TikTok. By the way, I don't know that I've given like a shout out at all to our composer Jefferson Friedman, but like I mean he just like outdid himself. He worked on Powerless with us. I think he outdid himself with this show, and just being able to write the themes for all of these characters and to have them, I mean, and to continue that musically the story for 26 episodes, and you'll see by the end of season 2, like I mean, it's people start to they really do start to recognize these character themes, by design. But oh my god, like I love like this episode in particular starts out with every episode starts out with your like DC logo, right. and the fanfare and all that, but we asked if we could do like a different, treat it like a feature film comedy where, over the, the Warner Brothers logo, etc. It's like, it's a song. Or it feels like a needle drop almost, or it feels like,
the show's beginning. Like the show, it's like an overture, like an old fashioned film kind of method. Absolutely, man. No, and I'm so glad you said that, Patrick, because I've noticed that as well. And it's great because literally the mood is being set, even though we're seeing that classic now DC logo that kind of fits over all these streaming shows.
Yeah.
And it's great. No, I think it's really cool that you do that. And I'm glad you're talking about Jefferson. Let's talk about the music for a second, because we really haven't. I'm assuming that he doesn't have an orchestra and it's really just him on a synth that's like kind of doing all the music, or does he have an orchestra doing it?
So yeah. So it's not like he's got the LA Phil at his disposal, but he does bring in session musicians and is himself, a multi-instrumentalist. Okay. He's got like his background is Juilliard and he has a background in classical music. I think he was nominated for a Grammy he was nominated for a Grammy for his classical work a few years ago. But his music is available on Spotify if you do a search for Jefferson Friedman, his classical stuff. And yeah, I met him because of Powerless. He was, when we took over Powerless, we inherited, the crew, and at the time, and I think they do partner up still for certain projects, but Jefferson was working with this guy Craig Wedren, and they came up with like the Powerless score that were on those great main titles and all of that.
Yes.
And then kind of as we progressed, Jefferson really became like our point person on Powerless, and as Craig moved on to other projects. But those guys like work together on like Wet Hot American Summer stuff. I mean, and now Jefferson also scores New Amsterdam on NBC, which is this very serious medical drama.
Yes.
But yeah, like this show was just, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Jefferson. Like he's just, I mean, he worked so hard on this show and coming up with a unique theme for every single character, and just knocked it out of the park. I mean, yeah, my vocabulary is pretty minimal when it comes to music. It's hard to talk about music if you're not a musician. And even when you're a musician, like I'll listen to like podcasts with like Alan Silvestri talking about, scoring like Avengers Endgame, and it still feels like Greek to me. It's just hard thing to talk about. But I feel like we developed a shorthand with Jefferson where he most of the time he already knew exactly what we wanted. We very rarely felt like we needed to give him a note on anything, but yeah, he so with this episode again, it was like this opportunity to kind of change up some of the palette a bit, because most of the episode takes place outside of our established world of Gotham, because Harley ends up, because by the end of the cold open, she's looking for comfort, she's looking for quote unquote family, so to speak, and arrives on the by direction from her former self, Harleen. Yes. She ends up on the doorstep of her mother's house in Bensonhurst, which is the name of the episode as well, which brings me to an embarrassing story. When I was at New York Comic Con, I finally got to meet Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor. I was talking to them at some Harley event, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm excited for you to see this episode where Harley goes back home to Brooklyn. It's called Bensonhurst, and Jimmy just goes, well, she's from Canarsie, and I'm like, well, shit. In our show, I guess she's from Bensonhurst.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I was like, well, it's Brooklyn.
Exactly. What do you do? Oh, that's too bad, man. That's hilarious. By the way, again, another music change for Jefferson, because all of a sudden, as Harley's in front of her house, we get this classic kind of sitcom, Hogan Family, Growing Pains, you name the sitcom moment where we transition it. And again, this is what's important about, this is what we can say about composers and music. It's subconscious in it to a degree, because it's playing on a different level, but it really does set the mood of a scene. And so music really is vitally important to kind of, create a mood and stuff. And especially in comedy where, you switch off and all of a sudden, like I said, it's warm, fuzzy sitcom. Here they are. It's the Quinzel family.
Yeah.
So.
We knew we wanted to do this from the beginning. And because the animation was done, was timed basically to the song. This song was actually, I think, written possibly before we had started getting in score from Jefferson.
Oh, okay.
So this song was written by my friends Josh Breeding and Eric Von Doime, who are two fourths or fifths of this band called the Megas. and the Megas started out. I think they've kind of expanded their library, but they started out. They were a kind of like novelty act that was like a rock band who only wrote songs about Mega Man.
Hilarious.
And they ended up playing all these, like video game conventions and stuff. And Josh is an actor that you've seen him on like a million commercials, and he was in a couple episodes of Powerless as well. But he's also, the lead singer of this band. And I could do a whole podcast on my history with these guys, particularly the two guys that I mentioned, and Justin as well, because Justin and I, a long time ago, in 2004, directed a feature film, a horror movie that actually was released, not theatrically, but was in, Blockbuster when that was a thing. Ended up being on like VOD. That we didn't write it, we directed it. We were basically given a budget to direct something. We weren't even paid for it. But we were basically like, fresh out of film school, and somebody's giving me an opportunity to direct it. But Josh and Eric from the Megas acted in that movie. They were two of the leads in a movie called Bachelor Party Massacre, which is I think it's safe to say no one thinks that's a good movie, including those people who worked on it. And we shot it in 5 days. It was a 90 page we shot in 5 days. So
that's fantastic, dude. Guerrilla filmmaking, I tip my hat to you guys, because seriously, whether they turn out to be great or not, God bless you, man. That's fantastic. And truly, I appreciate that kind of, got to get it done. This is our budget. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we had this song, and we knew, we sent these guys the script so they could write the song. And we're basically like, we really want you to like, here's the themes of the episodes. Here's what you're going to kind of see. You're going to see the evolution of this family kind of growing apart. This brother that we never is just a sight gag, Barry. I get people asking me if we're going to like see more of Barry like in flashbacks and stuff. And I'm like, honestly, that was just a dumb sight gag.
Well, again, we see like, these great classic kind of sitcom moments of baby, infant, toddler, young child. Okay, this is what they look like now. And we do that for Harley. And then we get to Barry, and same thing, baby, young boy. Okay, fine. And let's cut to the urn where he's obviously cremated and dead.
Now he's a tidy pile of ashes inside of an urn. And then, setting up the idea that the Quinzells put their family members' ashes in urns on their mantelpiece, which, is a thing that starts to build a collection throughout this episode. And then also, Susie Essman plays Harley's mom, Sharon.
Oh, that's great, from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Absolutely,
yeah,
Susie.
Curb and Broad City, and
yes, very funny, great stand-up, amazing actor. I'm a big fan of Susie. So that's great. So
funny. She was like hands down our first choice, and we got lucky. And then Nick, Harley's dad, who is kind of the big bad from her childhood, is voiced by Charlie Adler, who is like legendary voice actor and who directed pretty much all of Kaylee's performances that weren't like ADR stuff.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier. Absolutely, that's cool.
And Charlie is, he's a Broadway guy. He was in like Torch Song on Broadway, which like kind of Harvey Fierstein vibes at times. And oh my God, he was like, so he did he would like he was doing the scenes when directing Kaylee and was just, acting alongside of her before he got the gig to voice Nick. And it was just like, it was so good. We were like, why are we going to like go after anyone? We'll just bring Charlie in to do it. So I loved his performance in this. Just so funny, and so just there's real sadness toward the end, and and just the pathetic nature of this character, and Charlie really nailed it. But the setup for this whole episode, once Harley's home and back with her family, reluctantly her father, who she hates, is that she's got an assassin after her who has followed her to Bensonhurst, and all these assassins who are after her kind of turn out to be bad shots because in the first sequence, the assassin accidentally kills Grandma Quinzel by exploding her head after she announces sadly to the family that she's got the brain cancer, and then her head explodes. And Harley's dense father thinks that that's potentially a side effect of the cancer. We really just wanted to see how many of Harley's family members we could kill off in this episode. And
clearly,
it turns out two plus a thumb.
I know. I like how Nick starts off and has one thumb missing already and stuff.
Well, he's got a lot of gambling debts.
Sure.
You lose a lot of fingers that way.
Hey man, I'm a big Pope of Greenwich Village fan. I mean, Eric Roberts loses his thumb. The bedbug takes his thumb away. Absolutely. So I get it. Absolutely, man.
So that that's our A story that we're setting up, and then our B story is of course Ivy. What has become of her? She's been taken inside of Planet Wide Pavers and is under the watch of Gus the Goon, who is voiced by Rory Scovel, who is a hilarious stand-up comic. His special on Netflix is so funny. I've watched it about 3 times. It's very rare that I revisit comedy specials.
Cool.
But Rory is hilarious, and is just, we love him because he's this mild-mannered guy, but there's some real darkness underneath it. And so yeah, we got him for Gus, and so a lot of that B story is just basically Gus kind of screwing up Harley and Ivy's potential ability to make up. Right? He takes Ivy's cell phone and just starts texting Harley from it to kind of troll Ivy, just to torture her, and basically tells Harley to F off. And yeah, it just kind of furthers that rift between the two of them before they can kind of come back together by the end of the season. So, I mean, this was really like the first episode where I feel like we weren't so concerned with letting dramatic scenes be dramatic. I think as we kind of learned as we went, our tendencies to want to joke up everything started to fall off, and I think you kind of see that as a pattern in season 1 and then again in season 2, where it feels like, yeah, you've been doing this comedy, this kind of straight up comedy, but then you start to really earn, as these relationships build, you start to earn some of the dramatic elements to it. And I mean, this episode, particularly with the drama between Harley and her parents, and that pain and that darkness of her parents' ability to not care for their daughter, or the opposite, was really sad, and we just let it breathe, and I'm glad that we did, because this turned out to be really one of my favorite episodes. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton more to divulge about the episode, other than hallucinogenic honey is real. So that's
hilarious. At first, when he steals it, I thought it was gold kryptonite, and then it turns out instead that it's hallucinogenic honey, and he's licking it, and now I'm tripping balls. All right, fine.
I do like hallucinogenic honey as a slang term for gold kryptonite, though. And also the side effect of hallucinogenic honey, I do believe the erection is part of it in real life.
That's right. And again, he's passed out and he's got the rock hard erection, absolutely, in the back seat.
Frank proves that he can drive a car. So
Frank's driving a car.
Yeah. So
I got this. All right.
To the audience, at least, if not Ivy, that he is more capable than we may have thought.
Outstanding. Absolutely, man. I also like when Ivy gets... Is it Gus that blows the dandelion, and then the little dandelion kernel flies in Ivy's, touches Ivy, and then Ivy's got a little, henchwoman that or whatever it is, to send off to get Frank, and then, alert everybody of the trouble that's going on. And it's this great Lassie, what's happening? Timmy's in the well?
Absolutely, yeah.
And Frank is talking to the dandelion and stuff. That's great. Very funny.
Yeah, and then, as it, of course, turns out, Harley's own parents were trying to reap the bounty from Harley's assassination. They just, didn't want to do it themselves. But then by the end of it, her father is willing to kill his own daughter to get out of his debts. And
by the way, not before Grandpa shows up and is happy to find out that Grandma's dead. And hey, what, are you kidding me? Holly's back and Grandma's dead. That's enough of a reason for me to come. And then gets the giant hole shot through his chest cavity.
Yeah. After I think talking about heart disease, right? It was
yes, that's right.
Anytime
exactly.
An old person on the show talks about feeling some kind of ailment, that particular body part, if not their entire body, is going to be exploded.
I'd say great fight scenes too, man. Seriously, and that's a hallmark of the show in general. And also an explanation of Harley's gymnastic and acrobatic abilities when we flash back, and Nick is kind of her Bella. I forget his name. Bella
Caroli. Yeah,
Bella Caroli kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and also that bitter irony that the mother hung on to the second place trophy that Harley earned in that gymnastics competition, but then we learn, of course, that Harley is told by Nick that she's got to throw it or else Nick's going to die. So he's got to pay back his gambling debts and have her throw what should be her big moment. And again, obviously, another reason why she probably did go psycho and not have the life that she should have had.
Yes, she's got a repeating pattern with the men in her life of trusting them.
Yeah.
Sacrificing herself for them. So, yeah. And then, of course, at the end of the episode, we were like, there was a time where we were like, well, okay, do we even really need to explain why there was a bounty on Harley? And we were like, yeah, we need to explain why there was a bounty on Harley because it kind of came out of nowhere. So who would that be? Who would really hate Harley right now and just have the financial means to send a bunch of assassins after her, which is then, of course, the reveal that it was Joshua Cobblepot from all the way back in episode 102, who had his bar mitzvah ruined by Harley, and he is the one who is sending these assassins out using his Uncle Penguin's credit card, or using a Legion of Doom credit card specifically.
Right. That's their fund to fund all the plots, and going back to the Joker needing funding for his big plot and everything. So yeah, again, it all ties together.
It all ties together, and yeah. Before we wrap up, I just want to give credit where credit's due. Written by Laura Moran, this episode, and it was directed, tag team directed by Ben Jones and Colin Heck, and Colin. This was Colin's first episode when he came on board, and he kind of finished it, and then went on to direct several episodes in season 2 as well. So yeah, happy to have him join the team on this episode.
Another great episode, and yes, some interesting reveals. And again, as we said in the last episode, more cliffhangers, and we do. It is revealed that Scarecrow, at least for now, seems to be the one that's got Ivy captured, and he's behind it all. And we find out more in episode 11. So we'll leave things there and move on to episode 11. And as always, Patrick, great stuff, man. Really interesting, and I'm really glad that we did get into Jefferson's contributions to the show too, because that's great. And really, I think. Again, you can't talk enough about how important music is to really literally underscore a scene and make it kind of sing with that subconscious music and setting the mood.
Or save a scene that isn't working. There were times, rare occasions where we were just like, man, we really just gotta smoke and mirrors this. Jefferson, do your work.
I understand. No, I get it, man. Very cool. So we'll move on then to episode 11 in our next conversation. But as always, Patrick, thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to us continuing this exploration of Harley Quinn Season 1.
See you next time.
There we go. Thanks again for watching another Word Balloon video. We've got plenty more at our channel, Word Balloon. If you enjoyed it, please like it and consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, support me on Patreon, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thanks a lot for watching.